Welcome to the Adaptive Collaborative Podcast, connecting the adaptive community. Hosted by James Norris, founder of Handy Capable Fitness, and Melissa DeChellis, founder of Adaptively Abled Amputees and Adaptively Abled Fitness.
Thank you so much for everybody being here today. Welcome to episode 9 of the Adaptive Collaborative Podcast. I'm here with my co-host, James Norris of Handy Capable Fitness. I'm Melissa DeChellis, founder of Adaptively Abled Amputees and Adaptively Abled Fitness. And I am so honored to bring on one of my very dear friends, one of my personal mentors, a collaborator extraordinaire, and my own personal yoga coach, Lloyd Hawthorn of Lloyd Hawthorn Yoga. I met Lloyd a little over a year and a half ago when I decided to sign up for an inclusive community yoga class.
Been that long already, Melissa?
I know, it's been over a year and a half since we first met.
Awesome, I love it.
It feels like a lifetime, but it's been amazing getting to know you and to participate in your yoga classes, and then in turn have you volunteer for some of my personal endeavors. So when I first met you, I met you at Spalding Rehab Hospital in an inclusive community yoga class for the burn community. And we got to connect, and we've continued to connect on a deeper level. With Lloyd's help, he was able to help me bring my own personal vision and passion of bringing Boston's first adaptive fitness and wellness program to Boston. Lloyd helped me to connect with different professionals in the fitness, in the wellness community. And with Lloyd's extraordinary help, I was able to recruit over 60 professionals to help for the Adaptively Abled Fitness's first pilot class, which graduated 10 amazing adaptive athletes. I'm just so grateful to have had the opportunity to learn from you. But for those who don't know you as personally as I and James do, would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself, your background, and kind of how you started to get into yoga?
Yeah, thank you so much, Melissa and James, and everybody else who's on the call. Thank you so much for joining this incredible format that we have. As Melissa said, we met 18 months or so ago, and our journey has just continued to grow since then. And thank you to Melissa. I've been able to meet James. I've been able to meet so many incredibly inspirational people that is in this community. And just to be a part of this call and anything that I do with the adaptive community is it's inspiring, it's motivational, it's humbling. It takes me on so many different emotional levels. How I got into all of this, wow, there's just so many different levels to all of this. I grew up in New Zealand. That's where my accent is from. I moved to the US in 2002. I moved here right after 9/11. My immigration was supposed to actually come through, and then 9/11 happened. So everything at that time for people who came here with immigration status into the country had to wait for a period of time until the government at the time said, okay, it's now accessible to come into the country. And those of us who came with a green card, I won, it's a real thing. I won my green card in the US green card lottery, and it was about a 2-year process. And at that stage, I was living on the Gold Coast of Australia. At the time, I was working for Versace, the fashion house, and I was running all their food and beverage establishments at what was then the world's first 6-star resort hotel on the Gold Coast of Australia. When my status came through, I put everything down. I stopped my life as it was. I flew home to New Zealand, which is a quick 3-hour flight from the east coast of Australia, and said, hello and goodbye to all my family, and packed my bags and moved here to the US. Part of the stipulation when you arrive in the US with a green card is that you have to have a permanent, well, it was back then you did anyway, you had to have a permanent address upon arrival. Now, this is back in the day before you had like the iPhone and all those sort of things. I don't know, how did we even exist back in those days? I moved to the US, and the only contact we had at the time, my mom was the president of the Pharmaceutical Society in New Zealand. And she had been here to the US, and she had lectured at some of the big pharmaceutical colleges here in the US. So one of them in the top pharmaceutical college is the University of Minnesota. And the president of the Pharmaceutical Society of the US was also professor of pharmacy at the University of Minnesota. So the emails went across, and it was a little email to say, hey, my son's moving here to the US. Can he put his head down for a few days while he finds himself a job? And they lived in Red Wing, Minnesota, which is a really small town outside of Minneapolis, right on the Mississippi. So separating the border from Minnesota to Wisconsin. And I got to know their family really, really well, and I overstayed my welcome and all of those sort of things while I found myself a job. Now, back in those days, and for a long period of my life, in fact, most of my working life, my industry was the hospitality industry. So food and beverage, I worked in restaurants. I managed and ran some very, very successful restaurants throughout the world, Michelin star restaurants and all those sort of things. So that was my background. So I guess I grew up very much not really understanding what my calling was, I guess, in my life, but understanding that service was something that was really, really important to me. Having this ability to be able to reach out, connect with people is something that's sort of been ingrained in me from a very, very, very young age. So when I moved here to the US, long story short, I worked my way through my career. I had a very, very successful, gratefully, a very, very successful career within the hospitality industry. And I guess my yoga journey started from my sporting life. I grew up, sport is something that's always, and to this day, remains a huge passion in my life. I love sport. I love everything that it brings. I love the fact that you work as a team. I love the fact that you're able to express yourself as an individual. I used to enjoy and was ultra competitive in everything that I did in my life. That has changed, but that can be another part of discussion over time. So for me, I always, wanted to pursue a sporting career. When I was young, I had the opportunity to pursue different, professional sporting careers, and I pursued the sport of triathlons for a period of time. And it was something that I loved and I enjoyed, and I was good at it without being great at it. And I did well, but not good enough to really make a living out of it, or not a successful living out of it. And that's when I decided that I need to have, a proper job in life. And and then, those juices continued to flow as I continued to get older. And the last sort of competitive thing that I did is I did a two-day stage cycling race in Illinois. I lived in Chicago. Most of the time that I lived in Chicago, most of the time I have lived here in the US has been in Chicago. And so I did a two-day stage race there, and then I ran Boston, the marathon in 2008, and that was going to be my last sort of competitive thing that I wanted to do in my sporting life, I guess. And then that was sort of it. So that was 2008. And then I sort of went through this, like, what do I do now? What sort of happens in my life? What's the next thing that's going to inspire me? And so long story short, I got dragged, and I say this, with love, that I got dragged kicking and screaming to my first yoga class. and I was living in Arizona at the time. And so this is the middle of summer, just to sort of picture the whole sort of thing. So I'm living in Arizona, middle of summer. You know, they pride themselves of having 100 straight days of 100 degrees or more. So it's stinking hot. And, yeah. And anyway, so I remember saying to my friend, look, you know, this particular friend of mine had been trying to get me to come to a yoga class for a long period of time. It was like, yeah, yoga, whatever. And so I remember my exact words. My exact words were, I am going to go to the gym in the morning and get a proper workout in. And then if you can pick me up, I will come with you to a yoga class. And she's like, yeah, okay, great. So anyway, picked me up from the gym, took me to a yoga class, and my introduction to yoga in the middle of summer in Arizona was a Bikram class. Now, a Bikram class, just to give a little bit of a background, is a 90-minute class in extreme heat. They set the room between 110 and 114 degrees in temperature, and they pump humidity into the room to keep it moist as well. And combining that with the ambient temperature of the middle of Arizona, it's like walking into an oven. And I remember 90 minutes later, lying on the changing room floors in the men's bathroom, thinking I was going to pass out, throw up, maybe die. That was like, oh, I sort of love this. And I found that like my competitive juices were flowing. And it's like, okay, so I can do something here that I can be competitive in. And to me, my very first class, I used to look at these people around class going, how the heck do these people do these things with their body? I feel like I've taken my body to these extremes, but I have no idea how you're doing these crazy things in class. So my yoga journey at the beginning was ultra competitive, and it was all physical, and it was like, I want to be able to do with my physical body what you are doing with your physical body, which is not what yoga is about at all. But at the time, that's how my mind operated. And long story short, I guess my journey has just got to sort of growing from then. I continued to have a successful, career in my chosen career of hospitality industry. And everybody knew that over time, each 1 hour each day, that was the 1 hour that my phone was turned off, and you couldn't get a hold of me because that was sort of my time. And over that period of time, my yoga journey continued, and I used to, listen to instructors at the beginning of class or the end of class saying, hey, you should consider doing yoga teacher training. I was like, yoga teacher training. I'm never going to do yoga teacher training. Look, here we are. This is now what I do. So just a little lesson there. You just never know where your little journey might take you, whatever that means in your life. And I know, two of these people really well on this call, and who would have expected in your lives that we'd all be sitting here at this particular time and taking the journeys that we've had and connecting to the communities that we all work towards. So you just never know where some of that journey might take you.
Lloyd, that is like an incredible story just in itself right there. I think we could wrap the episode right there. But let me ask you, because you hit something that was pretty personal to me. I think when you said, that it really awoke your competitive juices. So when you first started, did you go into it with that mentality of like, okay, I want to kind of annihilate my body every time? And then to just piggyback off that, for people that are new to yoga or never been involved with it, can you explain the yoga way of life?
Yeah, absolutely, James. Great question. The answer to your first part of the question is probably yes. I liked going in there each day. I liked getting my body literally cooked to medium rare. And I liked to push myself, right? So I was just like, there was this whole, again, this physical journey of like, I could see everybody around the room doing everything what I perceived better than I did. In which case it was just like, if you can do that, then I can do that. Let's try and figure it out. So that was the first part of the question, James. And then the other part of the question is, I can see how this is all very intimidating for people. And what I mean by that is the exact opposite to that. And for those who are not necessarily geared in their mentality towards that ultra competitiveness, I can see how people will walk into a room, and you can equate that to a yoga class. You can equate that to a gym studio. You can equate that to so many different aspects of society this day and age, where you look at something or somebody and the way that a person might be physically perceived. And you can look at that and go, I can't do that, or I will never be like that, or I will never look like that, or my body doesn't have the ability to do that. And that can scare a person to the level whereby they're just like, I'm checking out. This isn't for me. And that's the part that I have learned over time. And that's why I love being part of this community, is that yoga is for everybody. And what I have learned over time as I read and I get mentored by people and aspire to be as the best as I can possibly be for the people who I connect with, that you are absolutely perfect the way that you are, and that you are exactly where you need to be right now in your journey. And that the yogic belief is that you pick up your yoga journey in your next life. So wherever you finish in your yoga journey in this life, you pick it up in your next life. And whatever your thoughts are or beliefs are in that, that's, another discussion for another day, and a completely different topic. But the understanding is that if you're just beginning your journey right now, and even if that's in your later ages in your life, that you've started something and you're now on your yoga journey. And that yoga journey is way beyond the physical body. Yoga started thousands of years ago. And yoga was originally a meditative practice. And it was completely meditation. And yoga is simply this connection between your breath, your mind, and your physical body. And you express yourself in this connection between those three aspects. And whether you are able to jump or press into a handstand, which people love to do, is equally as beautiful as a person who might be in a physical state that doesn't allow their body to move, but they can breathe and they can connect to their mind, and maybe they can gently move their body or not move their body at all. And their practice is every bit as perfect and as beautiful as somebody who can do crazy things with their body. And that's the wonderful thing about yoga, is there is zero competition, literally zero. It's your body, your mind, your breath, and you express yourself as you need to. Now, that can be really, really difficult for people who might be still struggling with that challenge. And a lot of that is ego. And a lot of that is how your body has been trained over time. And so much of who we are as people is made up of the experiences that we have had in our life. And most of us hold on to our negative experiences. And we hold that in our mind, and we hold that in our physical body. And they become our barriers to expressing ourselves in other ways. And the yogic belief is that every time you breathe, you have this ability when you exhale to release a negative experience in your life. And each time you exhale, you're peeling back a layer. And it's an emotional layer that you hold on to that covers up truly who you are. And that's a long-winded answer to the second part of your question, James, of how that competitive nature in your body can be something that you hold on to, but it isn't what yoga is all about. And it's taken me many years of working through that and working with people and reading and working with mentors and listening and understanding that allows you to be able to take away that competitive side in your life. And I used to be, like I said, ultra competitive. You know, I had to win this or do that or be the first for this, or if there was a competition, it's like, okay, how am I going to win this? And now it's just like, who cares? You know, just do what's good for you. Do what's good for you. And from a yoga perspective, you know, express that in your body. Connect with your breath, connect with your mind, and express yourself physically, how your body is able to do that. Understanding that your body is beautiful, you're perfect, and express yourself how you need to, whatever that means in your life.
That's such an
interesting. I love that, Lloyd. So for those that are contemplating, you know, should I look up the nearest yoga class near me and start attending yoga?
Yeah.
Or at least contemplating it. Could you explain to those that are listening some of the benefits of yoga for the mind, the body, and the soul?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question, Melissa. It's, you know, just to piggyback on some of the things I was saying from the last question that James answered, there's obviously physical aspects to the body. And I want to speak specifically here for the adaptive community, because I know this is who we're connecting with here. And this is where I take myself and you know, I am blessed and I am humbled and I am honored to be able to connect with the adaptive community. And it's really, you know, I talk about this a lot in the classes that I teach to able-bodied people. That, you know, I look around the class and I watch people in able-bodied classes and they get frustrated at times because they can't do this and they can't do that and they fall out of a pose and, you know, whatever. And, you know, I'll say at the end of class, and especially if I'm teaching a physically challenging class, and I'll say at the end of a class is like, I'll share my experience that I've had with the adaptive community. And I'll share some of those experiences and talk about people who have been through severe trauma or have been born with conditions that, you know, is a challenge. It's a physical challenge, and trying to explain that to people who are able-bodied that, you know, be grateful for what you have and don't get frustrated because you can't do something physical. You know, this is yoga again. This is something for everybody. And to answer your question, Melissa, it's a really, really difficult answer. And especially for the adaptive community. And I think what is so important with the adaptive community is being able to connect with someone who understands the physical challenges that the people in the adaptive community have. And that's really hard. What I find frustrating, and this will be a really controversial comment that I'm going to make right now, is that I get frustrated at times with the yoga community that they portray themselves to be something but don't necessarily live the life that they say that they're trying to portray. And it can be at times very pretentious in the yoga community. And, you know, whether it's the clothing that they wear or the community that they involve themselves in or the particular mat that they have or the studio that they go to, or I'm going to be with this instructor because this instructor is the best and blah, 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 blah. And people get very pretentious about that. And that's something that really frustrates me. Getting back to the comment that I made earlier, that yoga is for everybody. And I think not just with the adaptive community, but with, what the things are that are going on in this country right now, and how people's eyes have been opened to other parts of society. Just being able to make yoga far more inclusive than what it has been up until now, especially in this country. And that's the part of the practice that is really hard to find people who are going to be able to connect at a level that you want to feel connected at. So to answer your question, Melissa, it's really difficult to find. And that's why I love that people like yourself and James, who have been able to create a community like this, is a connection for people, especially in the adaptive community, to be able to open themselves up and find instructors, because there are instructors out there who are willing to open themselves up and be connective with people and share yoga to everybody. So the physical benefits are all there. You move your body, you're able to open it, you stretch the body, you get stronger, you do all of those sort of things, which is great. The other aspects, which are priceless, are the things that it can do for your mind. And that is done through your breath. And really, yoga is this moving meditation. And if you can express that with your physical body and connect that with your mind, then that is priceless. Every yoga class should be set with an intention. An intention is a purpose for your actions. And that is usually done towards the beginning of the class. An intention, like I said, is a purpose for your actions. That can be anything. It can be something that is inspirational to you. It can be something that is motivational towards you. I always talk about it coming from a place of love. I always talk about it coming from a place of giving, from a place of gratitude, and a place of happiness, so that your mindset is motivational. It's something that's personal, so personal that only you know about it. And that's one of the things.
Lloyd, I absolutely love. Oh, sorry.
No, keep going, James. Jump right in, man.
No. I absolutely love that, because I can honestly speak from participating in your classes. Some of my biggest takeaways, and it's things I practice now on the daily, is my breathing and how much that has really impacted me. But that leads me to this next question, because you hit on the adaptive community. So how did you get involved with the adaptive community? What sparked your interest to say, hey, you know what, let me give this population a try. Let me see what I can do here.
Yeah, absolutely, James. So it's a funny story, actually. There are twins who, Melissa, I think you know, Joy and Judy Green, who are just absolutely just wonderful people. Joy went through multiple traumas, and thanks to the wonderful team at Sporting Rehabilitation, they mended her body and was allowed to physical body and allow her to be able to get on with her physical life. And she wanted to be able to give back to that community, and the community that she connected with most, although she went through severe traumas on multiple levels, the one that she most connected with, she spent the most time with, was the burn community, the severe burn survivors. And she, unbeknownst to me, had taken my class at a different yoga studio. Now, she had actually trained in yoga, was a 200-hour certified yoga instructor herself. And she connected with the Boston Fire Department, and in their relationship with Sporting Rehabilitation, wanted to bring yoga to the burn survivors. And she had reached out to me and said, you don't know who I am, my name is, would you be interested in doing this? And I'm just like, absolutely. Wow, that is so cool. So I, very humbly rolled my bike into sporting rehabilitation. That's my little mode of transportation around the city of Boston, and taught my very, very first class with the burn survivor community at Spalding here in Charlestown. We got a bunch of people come to the class, and it was just great. And from day one, I was just hooked and humbled and just motivated by this incredible group of people. And these people had been through severe trauma, and they were inspirational to me, and they were just like happy, and I was just like, hey, thank you so much for coming and teaching us yoga. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is just unbelievable. And I learned very quickly that, I needed to adapt things, and everybody was different. There was people who were in wheelchairs. There were people who could sit in a chair. There were people who could actually physically move their body quite well. And all of these people turned up to the same class. And I was like, this is cool. I'm going to learn how to teach yoga to all sorts of people at a different physical level. And most importantly, we're going to have fun. And not necessarily every yoga teacher is going to agree with me when I say this, but I want yoga to be fun. We have 23 hours of the rest of the day where we can be as serious as we like. I want the hour that you spend with me to be enjoyable. And we did. We laughed and we joked and we told stories, and it was just a lot of fun. And one day I had, not long after I'd started teaching these classes, I had this incredibly inspirational person come to my class. She just happens to be in the top left corner of my screen right now. And she came to class, and we just connected afterwards. And she talked about her story, and I said to Melissa, I was like, well, if you could ever use yoga in the adaptive community, I would love to help, whatever that means. And she talked about adaptively abled amputees and adaptively abled fitness. And long story short, that's how we got all connected. And James, we're now friends, and life is great. So, yeah.
So I have a personal question for you.
Yes, Melissa.
What have you personally learned? And how have you grown as a person? And how has it influenced your teaching of other students by working with the adaptive community? So what life lessons have impacted you the most?
It's a great question, Melissa. I think if anything, it allowed me to continue on my yoga journey. And what I mean by that is I become more and more humbled every day by people, by their stories. I once got told by a mentor of mine that everybody should write a book and tell their story, because everybody's story is beautiful, and everybody has a story to tell, right? And you see movies and you read books, and then what you think might be not a story that anybody wants to listen to might just be a story that everybody wants to listen to. And some of the most inspirational stories come out of things that you might never think about. And so I continue to be humbled. Everybody looks for their purpose in life, right? And some people might spend their whole lives just searching for their purpose and never really find it. And my mentor is a gentleman by the name of Dylan Warner. And Dylan is a incredibly inspirational yogi. His physical practice is just stupidly good. But what is most inspirational is his mind and the way that he shares his thoughts. And when we talk about finding your purpose in your life, and for people who continuously search for whatever that is, he likes to break it down very, very simply. And this understanding that we all come from a place of love, and we come from a place of giving. And if you can share that in your life, if you come from a place of love and you come from a place of giving, you will find your purpose in your life, because that is your purpose in your life. Your purpose in life is to love, and your purpose in life is to give. And you will open doors that you can never possibly imagine when you come from that. And come from this place of understanding that you are just something very, very small in the grander scale of things. And you see often, and people are often portrayed this day and age, whether it's on social media or the news or society or whatever it is, that it's all about me, it's all about this and that, and it's all about, you know, how much I am important. It's the exact opposite of that, is that you're a very small something of something far greater. And I like to use this analogy of that you are just a wave upon the ocean. And if you understand that you are just a part of the collective universe, and that your part of your giving is something that you create for everybody else. So what I have learned from the adaptive community is that I just become more and more entrenched that I am just something very small, but I come from a place of love and I come from a place of giving, and that if that is something that is inspirational and helpful towards the adaptive community, then, you know, I'm humbled and honored to be a small part of that.
Well, Lloyd, you do a great job at that. We are so blessed to have you in our community. That's for sure.
We're so grateful, Lloyd. You are truly an inspiration in the adaptive community, and you helped.
Well, I wish you guys knew how much of an inspiration you were to me. And, you know, James and Melissa, you guys have come to my classes. And Melissa, I know you've been to my Thursday night power hour class, which is really challenging and all that sort of thing. And, you know, people, you know, often look across and see this incredible woman with one leg, and last Thursday your leg fell off in the middle of class and you had to put the leg back on, and everyone's still just trying to figure out how the hell you do all these things. And you know what? You guys are the inspiration, seriously.
So for the people that don't know and that are just joining us, we're kind of amongst a celebrity here, because Lloyd just signed a contract with Lululemon to become one of their ambassadors, and you shared with Melissa and I something really, really cool and something that hit home. They asked you a question on your contract, how you want to further the Lululemon name and what you want to do with it. And your answer, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, was to expand the adaptive community, which I thought was absolutely awesome. So I'm going to ask you, how do you plan to do that over the life of the contract?
Absolutely. It's a great question, James. So the question was, what is one goal you want to achieve while you are an ambassador with Lululemon? And they will help and support you in that journey. And I answered it not dissimilar from what you said at all, James. You summed it up absolutely perfectly. My goal is to make yoga more accessible to the adaptive community. Now, I want to be able to piggyback on, you know, the incredible brand that Lululemon is. You know, there is far more beyond the clothing that they have. Yes, they make beautiful clothing and all that sort of stuff, and they're a really cool company. They're based in Vancouver, Canada, and they have, you know, stores throughout the world, and, you know, lots of famous people wear their clothes and, you know, all that sort of stuff. But there is so much that goes on beyond this, behind the scenes. They have an incredible community. They have a whole entourage and wing of people that are just there to support the community. They do inspirational events. They do fundraising. They build communities. They do so much behind the scenes that gives back to the community. To answer your question, James, I don't know, man. I really don't. And you know what? I'm gonna lean on you guys to help me out in that journey. You know, you guys have been, you know, pioneers in what you have done. Melissa, I know you have been to the school down in Texas to learn how to do CrossFit. And James, I know you've got your programs going, and you guys are creating as you go along the way. I mean, you guys are leaders in this community. So for me to be part of this, I'm gonna lean on you. I'm gonna lean on your connections. I want to be introduced to people who are going to be able to help us to be able to take yoga to and grow this community. Hey man, I want to make that happen, however that happens. And like we've been talking about before, just little things like this is going to open doors. And we're going to open things to other people who've got other connections. We were just talking to Johnny, and Johnny was on a call, and he's talking to other people, and that's going to open doors. And just all of that sort of stuff is just going to continue to grow. And I don't think there's a laid out plan on how that's going to happen, but I think, putting a lot of smart minds together, and all the people who are on this call and all the people who are going to watch this podcast, share your thoughts. And if you've got ideas and you've got connections, how we can make this happen, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's open it up to different, parts of our society that are going to allow us to be able to make yoga more accessible for the adaptive community. And I know everybody works with their physical challenges, and that's awesome. Let's make that happen, and let's make all these people feel great about who they are, feel happy about who they are, and be able to, just grow the yoga practice, because yoga is a lifestyle. It's not just the physical practice that you do for the 45 minutes or an hour, however long you do the practice. It's the other 23 hours in the day that allows you to be able to breathe, to allow you to be able to take that breath that you have in times of challenge. It's like, how can I connect back to my breath now because I'm having a really challenging moment? How can I take myself off into a good mindset? How can I be a good person? How can I take that out in society? How can I share the things that I have learned in my yoga practice and take that out? The strongest yogis are people who are able to take that for the other 23 hours of the day, not just the people who can jump into a handstand. Who cares? What's that going to do in life, really? People who are able to share their life experiences and take that and grow the community are incredible. I mean, the people who are the greatest yogis are people like Mother Teresa, Gandhi, those sort of people who have been inspirations in life, who can share who they are and create good in life. They're yogis. They might not do a physical practice, but good people do good things. And that's what I want to be able to take out there to society.
Well, I am 100% confident that you are going to achieve your goal as an ambassador. A little over a year ago, I was just a girl with the dream of creating an adaptive fitness and wellness program. And we sat down and we had brainstorming meetings. We brought some of the brightest minds, some of the most motivated people, and the most giving souls that I've encountered to come together as a team and make something happen. So I am absolutely certain that we are going to bring the brightest minds together and the most giving and generous souls to be able to help see your passion of making yoga accessible for all, and especially for the adaptive community, come to fruition. And I'm so excited to watch the journey.
Let's make it happen. I'm excited.
We're going to make it happen.
Yes, we are.
So you touched on it a little earlier, and I want you to elaborate on it a little bit more. Every person who's living with a physical challenge or a physical disability either had a traumatic event that changed the course of their life, or they were born with a condition where they have met continuous challenges and medical traumas over the course of their life. So at the seed of everybody who's experienced some sort of a life-changing situation, there is this trauma. And you had talked about how yoga and how breathing, and especially breathing out, is trying to cleanse your body of that negative experience. I know for me, having undergone my own trauma, yoga has helped me to process and let go of those feelings. And there's also a lot of, especially for the wounded veteran and the veteran community in general, there's a lot of military personnel that have undergone serious traumas and who are living with PTSD, and it's a very real thing.
Yes.
How do you feel that yoga can help them to kind of process and let go of their trauma and be able to move forward in life?
Yeah, it's a great question, Melissa, and it's such a at the same time it's a tough answer because it's so many multi-layers. At the same time, it's also a simple answer. And what I mean by that, firstly, again, it's multi-layered because it's again, this trauma is something that people are going to live with obviously for the rest of their life. You're right, physically and mentally. And the simple answer to that is start doing something. Right. And I know, people that I am able to teach, whether it's the burn survivors at Spalding or the adaptive community. I know people automatically, just after their first class, start to feel better. And it's this understanding of it's meditation, right? It's this form of meditation. And we all meditate every day. We just don't realize it. And meditation is just this understanding of being present, just being in the moment, right? We cannot change our past, and we are already living in the future, which is sort of a weird thing to get your mind around, because you can only be present, but you're already in the future, right? So we can't predict the future. We can affect the future through our own actions. And this meditational aspect that we do through yoga, which can be expressed in the physical movement, or it can be meditation in its understanding of what we think meditation is, which is this moment of presence. And I touched on this aspect of we meditate every day, we just don't understand it. We all spend time by ourselves. We might walk, we might sit on public transportation, we might drive, we might go for a run, we might be in our wheelchair, we might be any of these things, but we're by ourselves and our thoughts are going through our mind. How do we process those thoughts? And that's where meditation, or this ability to connect to our thoughts, is an aspect that will help us. And that is done through this understanding, and initially guided, that will allow us to understand what our thoughts are, how we can process those thoughts, and how our breath comes into play with that. And when people have been through such severe trauma, again, these layers are just so many aspects of that. But just starting with something is going to help. And as you start with something, you'll start to be able to work through the layers. And those layers might take a lifetime. And that's okay. That's cool. Who cares? Yeah. Working with those things, right? Something is better than nothing. And, whether that's talking to another person who can share your experiences, or connect with a person in a meditational aspect who can help guide you through some of those thoughts, who can help guide you with the breath, then all those things are going to help. And if you can connect a physical practice to it, then your mind might be relieved of some of those thoughts. And you'll be thinking about the movements that you told to do. Lift your arms higher, wrap your triceps forward, reach your arm out to the right. Okay, I'm doing these things. It makes you think less of the other things that are going through your mind. So there's lots of different aspects to that. But get back to answering your question, Melissa. If you can start with something, you've begun your journey. And yoga is a journey. And you'll be on that journey for the rest of your life. And you'll see these Tibetan monks that literally spend their whole lives working out their life. That's what they do. They spend this whole life going through these meditations and sorting out their life. And we all do that, right? We all have our things that go on in our mind. It's just life. That's just part of being a human being. So to start with something is going to begin your yoga journey. And that's brilliant. That's perfect. That's amazing.
Now, Lloyd, we are up against the clock here, but I really want to get this question out there. So let's say there's a yoga instructor out there, or just a fitness professional that's listening to this or is watching this back, and they're like, man, I want to get involved in the adaptive community, but how do I go about doing it? What's some advice real quick that you would give to them?
Don't be frightened, be vulnerable. And that goes for all of us, right? Whether you're learning, like, I want to take my first step to yoga, or I want to learn to work with the yoga, or I want to work with the adaptive community. You know, there's no written rules for any of this. Everybody's adaptive challenges are different, right? And we learned that, Melissa and James, when we did the very first, adaptively able fitness community. Everybody had a different condition. There was no golden rule. There was no, okay, you do this because that's the right thing to do for the adaptive community. No, it's not. The adaptive community is all different. And that's the wonderful thing. As a yoga instructor or as a fitness coach or professional, put yourself out there, be vulnerable, talk to people, and just be involved. Simple.
Love it. So you have been very busy lately, and I want to give you an opportunity to let the community know about all the amazing classes that you are offering for the able-bodied and the adaptive community. I must say, I am so eternally grateful that Lloyd has dedicated a community class every Friday afternoon at the Charlestown Community Center to work with the adaptive community, but also the able-bodied, and to bring us both together and to show everybody that yoga is truly accessible for all, and that yoga is for everybody. And all of the proceeds of that particular class have been donated very graciously to adaptively abled amputees. And it's enabled us to be able to stay afloat and offer virtual programming and support groups and an outdoor socially distanced fitness class for adaptive athletes in the Boston area. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for being able to offer that class. But I also want to give you the floor to be able to let people know about the other class offerings that you're offering and how people could connect with you.
Thank you, Melissa. I sincerely appreciate it. You know, honestly, you can see all my stuff. Probably the best way to do it is my website, which is really, really simple. It's lloydhawthorn.com. You can find me on Instagram, Lloyd Hawthorn Yoga. I don't make it too complicated. But the class that I love most each week, and I say this whether it's to my challenging classes, or it's to, the adaptive class that I teach on Friday lunchtimes. This class is for everybody. It's for the community. I want the community to be able to connect, the adaptive community to be able to connect to the rest of the community out there, the rest of the yoga community, and for the regular yoga community to do exactly the same. Back with the adaptive community. I think Melissa and James, you guys will attest to the fact that I think the most fun thing that we do is everybody sits down at the end of the class and they just talk, right? Yep. It's just like, It's like, what are you doing? Tell me about yourself. How can I get involved? All of those sort of things. They're the things that I love most. I think we could probably we probably couldn't even do the class and everybody would just sit down for an hour.
Sit and talk.
Yeah, exactly.
I've met some of the most interesting and incredible individuals attending your yoga classes. You truly bring people from all walks of life, all different backgrounds, and it's literally the happiest hour of my week.
And we share.
Besides running my own program, working with adaptive athletes, that's like my second favorite hour of the entire week is coming to your yoga classes.
And we all share one common thing, right? We all come from different walks of life. We
Absolutely.
all do things, but we all share this passion for this little thing that we call yoga.
Well, we are
100%.
very fortunate to have you as a part of the community and to help us to expand. And I'm going to hand it over to James to close us out for the evening.
Lloyd, I want to thank you so much for, agreeing to do this. Thank you for investing in the adaptive community, because I benefit from it, Melissa benefits from it, but as she said, so many other people benefit from it. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, and would love to have you on again in the future to talk more about what it is you do to connect the adaptive community. So thank you very much. Thank you to everybody who's watching. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Tune in next week at a special time, 9 p.m. Eastern, as we have Earl Granville, who is an Army War veteran with an incredible story. You don't want to miss it. It's gonna be another great episode. But Lloyd, thank you again from the bottom of my heart. Truly appreciate it, and I will see you Friday.
I look forward to it, my man. There's one thing that I say at the end of every class that I teach. It's a little Sanskrit mantra, which goes Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, which literally translates into English to say, may all beings everywhere be happy and free. Thank you, team. Thank you so much for letting me be part of this. I sincerely appreciate it. All the best of luck. Thank you.
We appreciate you, Lloyd.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy
Have
the
a
rest
great
of
week.
Bye, team.
See you Friday.
Look forward to it, man.